Look in verse 2. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Talk about getting your balloon busted. I mean, they're looking at the temple, and Lord, look at the temple. He says, yeah, I see it. But the day's coming. There's not going to be one stone left standing upon another. And those who've been to Israel, you know the temple's not there. And some have asked. I've rescheduled the trip from December after Thanksgiving to the spring. But you can see where they threw the stones down off the temple in 70 A.D. I mean, you can see the pile of stones today right there on right by the temple wall where they threw not temple wall, temple's down. This would be the retaining wall that you see on the Temple Mount. But he fulfilled that scripture in 70 A.D. See, we're looking for an authority. Who do we want to study to know about some key things? And right here he gives us one of those about the temple. It's going to be destroyed. Now notice in verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, now this is overlooking the Temple Mount, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? Now there's some scholars, and I can't find it, but they just believe this was the four, Peter and Andrew and James and John. But they're asking him, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy, what's the word? Coming, and of the end of the what? The world. Now, let me give you another view of this. First, when shall these things be? That's the destruction of Jerusalem, 70 A.D. What shall be the sign of thy coming? That's the second question. And then thirdly, what shall be the sign of the end of the world? And the end of the world here really should be age. It's not the world in finality, because the world will never end. There's going to be a new Jerusalem, new heaven, new earth. But it won't be the end of everything, so to speak. It's new. It's the age, end of this age. And it leads us to believe a couple things. What was it the disciples were asking him? Well, they had to know about his coming because they're asking him, what will be the sign of your coming? So he had to have taught them. He had spent time with them talking about his return to the earth. And then secondly, here they want to know about the end of the age. I think maybe the millennium. I'm not sure exactly as you fit these in. Some look at tribulation. I'm not sure. The end of the church age could also fit here. So it's the end of a period of time. Now, in this 24th chapter and 25th chapter, he answers those questions. And you'll see it again over in Mark 13 and also in Luke 21. But let's talk about verse 4, because he is going to kind of open the scriptures for them. And he says, and Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man, what? Deceive you. And that's interesting, because in verse 5 he says, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall do what? Deceive many. And we're living, I believe, in an age of deception. I mean, I don't know how else anybody could look at this other than an age of deception. I think that maybe we're willingly deceived. I think maybe the disciples were. I mean, there's no doubt that they heard him teach about his death, burial, and resurrection. I mean, it's all through the Gospels. They heard him teach that. So why did they miss it? And I think maybe in our day we have some who are willingly deceived. Now, what would deceive us? What's the difference, do you think? Some of you have been around. How many studied late great planet Earth in the early 70s? Anybody go back that far? John did, Bill did, Earl did, Bruce says he did. Some of you. Now, that's one. If you got, I bought a copy the other day just to review it and thought about teaching it. Man, it would be hard to teach that today. Not that it's changed, but it's deep. I mean, there's a lot of Bible in great planet Earth. I mean, you'd almost have to put it in a blender Anybody ever do baby food? And just kind of get it in pulp, where folks could chew it. Because the modern generation, they have so little Bible knowledge to be able to just get into those deeper truths and chew on them. And I think secondly, today, compare those of you who maybe lived in Horry County, or I don't know what part of the world you might have been in the 70s versus today. But did the average person in your neighborhood, whenever you came along, live in the average house over in Waterford? Or some of the subdivisions right around here? What was the average house in the 70s? I remember my dad, Ellen got married at 65, and Daddy was a builder. And he said, son, we have to build a house. And I said, what's it going to cost? And it had over 2,000 square feet, 2,500. I forgot how many square feet Dad said. I can build a house for $18,000. I said, Dad, that's too much money. I said, I'll wait things get cheaper. I went and bought a mobile home. That shows you how smart I was. And I'm still waiting on things to get cheaper. But I think one of the reasons today a lot of people have difficulty in embracing prophecy is because they're well off today, better than they've ever been, especially the younger generation. And I think maybe things do work proportionately. I know that I had a color TV before my daddy did. Ellen had a clothes dryer before Mom did. Mom didn't get a clothes dryer till, maybe in the late 70s. We got married in 65. In fact, my mother, she'd just rather hang them on the clothesline. She liked the smell of the clothes off the clothesline. And so she wasn't really, she got a little older, Daddy got her a dryer until she didn't want one. My first mobile home had central air. My dad had a window unit and a window fan for a long time. I mean, today you take somebody to a house that doesn't got central air and you might as well spit on them. I mean, you're insane. But people are better off today. And I think we've gotten comfortable in the journey. And I think we've lost some of our glimpses, maybe, of that eternal city that we talked about a little bit ago. And so here as we see, many shall come in my name saying, I'm Christ. You're going to have multitudes deceived. I think we're living a day of deception. It's all over. All over. And that's a whole study in itself. We could take just a whole time of study on how within the framework of the church there's been a falling away. And I realize everybody here isn't Baptist, but I don't care what your denominational affiliation may be, but I almost guarantee you this: if you are in a membership, actively in a mainline denomination, you've seen a falling away in the last 10, 20 years. You've seen a falling away. And I believe that's the day we live. I think that's here. That's a sign. The Bible says, time we think not, the Lord will come. Now, that's